Hello and welcome to the first episode of Indie Spotlight, a series where I quickly go over indie games that I enjoy in my own free time, but are either a tad bit too pint-sized for me to do a full-fledged review on, or don't exactly fit with the games I normally cover. But they're good enough for me to want to talk about them in some capacity, hence the whole purpose of the series. I also might bring up some new releases that I've been keeping my eyes on for a good bit of time. I'll try my best to talk about at least one new game each episode, but keep in mind that might not always be the case. I want to bring some more attention to these games that I think everyone should try out, or they're just incredibly unique and I don't think they deserve flying under everyone's radar. With all that being said and done, let's move on to the first game on my list. Have you ever played the Oregon Trail? Another question, if you have played it, did you enjoy it? Because if so, you'll probably love Death Road to Canada, because it's just like that, but with zombies. And also without the whole dysentery thing. I'm sure Death Road isn't the first game to put a sort of apocalyptic twist on the whole Oregon Trail thing, but the shit this game does and has makes it the king in that kind of niche in my opinion. Basically, the whole premise is that you've got 15 driving days to get to Canada, which is considered to be a safe haven in the zombie apocalypse. Along the way, you'll be constantly put into life or death scenarios where the wrong decision can potentially end your run. You'll fight against ginormous zombie hordes and team up with some lunatics. Yeah, this game also does not take itself seriously at all. As if that isn't already enough, you've got a huge handful of different game modes to play. Whether it's Long Winding Road, which increases your driving days to 25, Short Trip to Heck, which is the exact opposite but has a big difficulty spike, and or Familiar Characters mode, which increases the chances of you running into your own custom characters. Oh, the character creation. I've spent an ungodly amount of time on this. You can choose every character's skill that they will excel at and a personality trait which will both affect how they perform during a run. You want to make a character that hits like a fucking truck but has a terrible eating disorder? Yeah, here's Mr. Chubby. What about a doctor who's noited as fuck? And here's Dr. Cockenmouth. If you want to see just how much time I've spent on this, look, I've made every single character from Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. I made Tony Soprano, Homer Simpson, The Postal Dude, Mad Max, Minecraft Steve, Nico Bellic, Jesse Pinkman, and Walter White. You know, I had a bit in mind for all these characters, but I mean, this whole roster is really a joke in and of itself. I feel like Death Road also isn't one of those games that start getting boring the more you master it. If anything, I feel like it becomes better once you start learning how to work around the RNG. It's very good to know when to take risks, because they can lead to some good rewards, whether it's more supplies or learning something about a member of your team, since they all start off with their stats being hidden. Like good loyalty, which obviously means that they're not only trustworthy, but also won't randomly ditch the team if morale starts decreasing. Or mechanical, which is super useful to have because as long as you have gas, you could stick with the same vehicle for the entire run, which believe me, that is really important. I seriously cannot recommend Death Road enough. For the $14 price tag, I can undoubtedly say that I got my money's worth. The newest release on this list, Bravery Greed, is a combination of roguelite, platformer, beat 'em up, and maybe just a pinch of Metroidvania. I know all of that makes it sound like it'd be one hell of a carnival, but it does a pretty good job of nailing all of those genres and making sure they work well together. The game opens up by giving you a short and simple story, which is that there's this fabled dwarven vault that is filled with riches. But in order to get to it, you need to obtain 4 keys that are found in different dungeons, with each one being much more difficult than the last. You get the option of choosing what class you want to play. You've got the warrior, mage, rogue, and Amazon, all of which are fitted with their own abilities. Then you just try to fight your way through the dungeons, and along the way you'll pick up pieces of enchanted gear, or be blessed with a perk from the gods that'll hopefully prepare you to fight the bosses. And if unfortunately you end up dying, well, just hope that your next few runs will turn out a little bit better. It's as simple as that, and like with a lot of roguelites, it's that simplicity which makes this game all the more addicting. It also doesn't help that no matter how quickly your run ends, you're bound to unlock a new item or companion that you'll be able to find on your next attempt. It does a really good job of pulling you back in and encouraging you to think that, oh, well, maybe I'll do a little better this time. And if things start getting a little too boring, you could always pull out a tarot card, which will spruce things up a bit by buffing your character, but having some huge caveat that might make your run interesting but much more challenging. I've only been playing Bravery and Greed for a bit, but I will say this is a really good time sink, especially if you like these sorts of games. There's certain parts of it which, I'll admit, might need to be ironed out a little more, like the controls. They take a little bit of getting used to, and it makes some of the trickier platforming parts a little annoying. And I do think this game is in need of a little variety. With every run, you'll go through the same 4 dungeons and fight the same 4 bosses. At first, they will really kick your ass, but with a bit of patience, it becomes really easy to read them and develop a strategy against them, which once you get to that point, you'll be able to breeze your way to the Dwarven dungeon with almost every run. I'm sure as time goes on, those parts of the game will become improved, and that there's going to be a lot more content, but despite all of that, I still think there's enough meat here for anyone to get a good few hours of gameplay. If you're a longtime viewer or you've watched my previous videos, you might remember a rather quirky game I covered not too long ago known as Goddamn the Garden. Well, the developer, Alleviate, has released yet another game called Gun Devil that came out in August. It's a bullet hell platformer that is, unsurprisingly, filled with Alleviate's unique brand of humor. I mean, the main villain here is Satan's son, who is known as the Caramelized Dumbass, fucking brilliant name there, who has taken your busty wife, and as the Gun Devil you have to shoot through his legion of pimps. Which apparently they don't even know what the word pimp means because, and I quote, the dumbass told them it means cool gangsta. So they're all like, yeah, we all cool. Blink blink breakdance. How the hell does anyone come up with this? So, how's the actual game? Well, it's fucking hard. It's almost downright sadistic at times with enemies that are placed in really cheeky positions, or just the sheer amount of chaos that'll be happening on screen. Like, oh my god, man, I'm sorry for saying James the Evil Bunny was too easy. This is too much, bro. In all seriousness though, Gun Devil is one of those games that doesn't really punish you for dying, and rather forces you to learn through repetition and your own mistakes. I know that's not going to be everyone's thing, and truthfully, I wasn't really getting all that into it at first. I found it to be a touch too difficult. But eventually, it feels really good to just get to a point where you can almost naturally defeat a boss without taking damage that was previously giving you trouble. Also, your eyes are not deceiving you. I am indeed fighting a dog's butthole. Gun Devil is pretty short too, only having 9 small stages and ending on a really abrupt cliffhanger. This is mostly because as of right now, it's just kind of a demo, which might sound a little sketchy, but look, Alleviate's nice enough to offer this at the low price of $3.99. And he does say that this was intended to be a much larger project, but as a solo developer, this is about as much as he can do in a reasonable amount of time. But if there's enough interest for this game, he'll continue working on expanding it. So yeah, go support the man. I don't know him personally, but both this and Goddamn the Garden are fun, charming, bite-sized games that you might get a good chuckle out of with their cast of idiots and their idiotic dialogue. Necesse. Necesse? It's probably Necesse. It's a small little game that I stumbled upon not too long ago. I saw that it was only $10 and thought, it's probably just a passion project with not a whole lot going on. And that is essentially what it is, but damn! For a game being made by one dude and going only for $10, the amount of content that is in here really surprised me. There's even multiplayer, which I don't know if it's any good, but I feel like most indies of this size don't even nail that until maybe the last stage of early access, and Necesse has a very long way to go until it gets there. So what is Necesse? Necesse is when you get Terraria, Stardew Valley, and Rimworld and force them to make sweet, sweet love to each other. It is the usual resource gathering, mining, survival game, but with settlement building tacked onto it. That simple combination just makes it one of those games where you promise yourself you're only going to play for about 10 minutes and then the entire day just flies by. It really also makes you wonder why there isn't enough of these games. There's just so much more to the progression and things to work towards, like of course getting better gear, but also working to that point where you can use your settlers to complete tasks, making things like farming almost completely automatic. Of course, it'd be too easy if it's all just smooth sailing from there, so there's raids you gotta worry about, adding in a bigger threat that isn't just a regular boring zombie, or putting your gear to good use by fighting a boss. I know on the surface, Necesse seems rather lackluster, but the dev does have plans to improve the aesthetic. And just overall, this game gets very frequent updates that always do add in a good handful of new stuff. As of right now, I do think Necesse is worth that $10 price tag. There's already more than enough here to keep you occupied for a good bit of time. It also wouldn't be a bad idea to just keep tabs on this game and see what it becomes in the near future. If you want to do that, you can join the Discord server that's linked on the Steam page. As I've said before, Necesse still has a very long way to go until it's out of early access, so I'm very excited to see just how much it'll change from now until then. This game may have led to me making one of my worst performing videos, but goddamn do I love it. And you know, so long as I had fun recording and editing it, isn't that what really matters the most at the end of the day? Phasmophobia is a co-op horror game where you and a bunch of friends are ghost investigators, where you walk into a bunch of different buildings and figure out what kind of ghost haunts them based on the clues you'll have to find, by using a bunch of equipment like a blacklight to find handprints or a spirit box to see if it's a talkative ghost. Richard, are you here? Oh,
No.
yep, got spirit box.
Yeah, I heard that. That's a spooky one.
You can't exactly take your time with this either, since the longer it takes, the more agitated the ghost will become, which at that point, it might kill you. Also, I gotta love that you don't even take care of the ghost, you just identify it. And you know, that by itself makes sense. You've got like a Ghost Adventures type thing going on. But some of these houses you walk into don't even look that abandoned, so I'm led to believe that some family pays you to do something about their paranormal problem, but you just walk in and say, yeah, that's a ghost if I've ever seen one, and that's gonna be $150. Jokes aside though, what I really love about Phasmophobia is that it is perfect for just goofing around in. There is not a single session I've had with my friends that wasn't completely drowned in laughter, whether it was us pulling pranks on each other or annoying the shit out of the ghost through the spirit box.
Fucking scared me. I don't know if you like slid on your
Can
table.
you give us your autograph using this fancy book on the ground?
Oh my god,
Is that a
that's
yes
so
or a
loud.
no? Is that a yes or a no?
Oh, yeah, dog.
Yeah, bro, you just went like, yeah. Oh shit. Oh, I'm dead. I'm fucking dead.
You actually died.
Yeah.
You pissed him off.
That's not to say that Phasmophobia isn't scary, because it absolutely is, and I have to give it extra credit for not sticking to cheap jump scares. Its horror aspect almost entirely comes from just how unpredictable some of these ghosts are. You might think they've started hunting, only to find out they're just fucking around with you as soon as you've crammed yourself into a corner. And those hunts, they're kinda easy to survive in, but when they start, they're really good at snapping you straight into a flight or fight response. It's fucking hilarious seeing me and my friends abruptly just stop whatever it is that we're doing and start scampering in completely different directions looking for a place to hide in like a bunch of stupid animals. If you haven't played Phas yet, please, grab some friends, buy it, and play it. I don't think you'll regret it.